On the west side, because despite the snow, we are here to celebrate the 3-year anniversary of Invest Southwest. Now, my name is Samir Mayakar, and I'm so proud to be Deputy Mayor of Economic Development. And when you think about 3 years ago, we were also here on the west side when we kicked off Invest Southwest. And boy, how far has this program come. You will see in these beautiful booklets the amazing accomplishments of most of the people in this room over the past 3 years. Now, before we get our program started, there are just a couple thank yous that we wanted to convey on behalf of the city. The first is you saw this beautiful fence outside, and that was done by a DK-sponsored artist, Dwight White and Keith Brownlee. Could you please stand up and be recognized? And the food today is provided by Momentum Coffee and Sweet Cheesecake, and I believe the owner of Sweet, that Camille, this is her birthday today. So say happy birthday to Camille. And you know, if it's an Invest Southwest event, that means that there's a band. So thank you to the DNA band, keeping it down on the back. The beautiful reports on your seats were compiled by Gensler, and Andre is here from Gensler. Thank you, Andre, and to the Gensler team for the help with that. And you're going to see an amazing video from a producer, Prime 312, and I won't spoil what you're about to see, but it's truly amazing. So with that, I want to hand things over to our host here on the west side, Alderwoman Emma Mitz.
I'm getting a little hot now. Even though it's cold, I'm hot. Let me welcome all of you to the West Side Soul City Corridor, 37th Ward. It's an exciting day. I have a lot of folks to thank. I just can't name them all, because I think every one of us have a part to play here. All of the development that's taking place here on the west side, Invest Southwest. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. Thank you so much. You have made a difference. I hear more of my community people saying, wow, there's a lot of development going on here. My community used to say we didn't have anything. Now we have Fortune 500 companies here, tech companies. Could have went anywhere else in the world, Mayor. This project means so much to me that I want to tell the mayor, you are the one responsible for today in helping us get this done. It's not because I haven't tried to get it done before. It kind of fell on deaf ear. We went through a lot of ups and downs, but that's part of life. Trials and tribulation, things don't always work, but guess what? If you stay the course, have faith and keep making those baby steps, we are able to make it here today for a celebration that's going to change Chicago Avenue from the west to the east. And I'm just glad to be a part of being a servant. Notice I said a servant to the people. It's a lot of responsibilities come behind just being the alderman. There's a lot of work has to go in. A lot of meetings have to take place. A lot of dislikes, disagreements, but if you stay the course, don't worry about all that stuff. Get the job done. There's a bigger picture, and the bigger picture is going to be this new Soul City Corridor where we're going to have housing, museums, restaurants, Lord, and I was at an opening last night where we had a beautiful streetscape program coming through. And get all the community have been engaged in these meetings for years, not just days, for years, from the young to the old to the middle age. We didn't leave anyone out. And when I tell the community all the time, you're better together. When everyone works together, we can get some things done. There's no need to be a little big eye, a little eye over here, and a big you over here. No, it's the we's. We's that make stuff happen. So I'm just a part of, you allowed me to be part of that we. To work with the City Hall, with all our commissioners. Commissioner Cox, you've been there with us, make this development. I remember bringing you on the tour right here. And it is great to see us get to this day. I think, Athena, you know, we've had some ups and downs, but look, everybody stay the course. We can get mad, you can have disagreements, but the picture is not done until we fulfill our desires for this community. And that's what we are doing today. So let me thank all of you. Baxter, thank you. Boyle, thank you. We thank all of the partners, Highland Alliance, Oak Park Housing, Austin United, every agency that's here. See you, Vanessa. Everyone that are in the room today. Thank you, and those who are not out here. A lot of you think the West Side is not one of the communities is high crime. These are loving folks out here, let me tell you. I wouldn't have been the alderman for these many years if I didn't feel the love. And if it wasn't here, I was gonna bring it. And they're gonna have to give it. There's no way you can walk around and not love each other and get anything done, nowhere. So let me just say, I appreciate everyone, each and everyone, for all the hard work that's been put into helping us get to this point, reaching out to our communities. And hopefully you'll see the big picture once this building and we cut a ribbon. I appreciate the groundbreakers and I love them because those are stepping stones that we are making toward getting to our goal. I have so many projects going in the ward. Anybody know anything about some favor? Let me just say, favor. We're coming out of pandemic, and we're cutting ribbons on every corner of the ward. Now, isn't that favor? I could have been at home, sitting down. No, I was juggling City Hall and juggling Zoom meetings. I had 3 of them going at one time. Your cell phone, the computer, your live phone, anything someone would give me to try to get in and make things happen. That's what you got to do. Keep working hard. Thank you, CDOT. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Building department for coming in and helping us clean up, make sure we're safe here. We appreciate all of everything everyone have done to get us to this point. And this is a great celebration, you all. You don't have to look at me. You might not live here, but I thank you because I know you're investing in here. West Side still is the best side. Thank you.
Something that includes neighborhoods south of Roosevelt Road and west of Ashland. The flawed economic theory that if we keep making the same old crowd rich, a couple of pennies might roll to Brownsville or Austin or Roseland or North Lawndale. They had 30 years to test their theory of economic development. And what happened to our neighborhoods over that time period? We starved.
I'd like to welcome everybody here on behalf of Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and we're here to kick off Invest Southwest. And I think it's important that everyone here know that we're not here just to plan, we're here to do.
A dramatic surge in cases of that deadly mystery virus.
Little did we know when this program first started what we would be facing a few months in: the pandemic, the economic crisis, civil unrest. Through all of that, our team worked tirelessly to keep this program on course.
We set out to catalyze private investment on top of what we could do ourselves. And to date, private and philanthropic partners have committed $300 million additional dollars for this project. We've laid the foundation. And as we move into our second year, we're going full steam ahead. For the last 2 years, Invest Southwest has brought transformative, visible changes to our South and West Side communities, totaling, to date, $1.4 billion in investments in public, private, and philanthropic contributions.
And it's given those of us outside of government the opportunity to work with the public sector to strengthen our city.
We have actually deployed public funds in a way that has generated a multiplier of private and philanthropic capital.
I don't know the mayor. We put this coalition together with merit, and that reached her desk.
Our job was to match opportunity with talent that was already there.
It's the first time in the history of the city that there's an initiative that promotes minority developers like myself coming together to say, here's what we want to put in this particular community if we have the resources. It sets the game apart.
Other mayors have believed in minority participation, but this is the first time in our city's history that a mayor believed in Latino and minority and Black and brown leadership.
It matters who's on the fifth floor.
I came in the door talking about equity and inclusion. It's meaningless if it doesn't have concrete ways in which people can see, feel, and touch it.
We look forward to opening this new advanced outpatient center in Bronzeville, which is our latest, but certainly won't be our last, initiative to advance health equity and wellness.
The way that this is impacting folks on the ground is that they're starting to see that the next chapter of their neighborhood is under construction.
For people who have lived in this community for so long, they're excited about what their community feels like. It's not just one standalone restaurant, it becomes a community movement.
I remember where we were before this, and I finally feel that there is an open line of communication between the city in general and the community.
You can't go into community and think you know. You have to go into community and listen to what the people who are here know.
We spent the last couple of years of the Invest Southwest program listening really well to help design the kinds of improvements that we've worked together with communities on to identify, to try out, and then to make a long-term part of the landscape of their neighborhood.
We have a voice in what's happening in our communities. This is the way to do it, for us and by us.
Resources have a wonderful way of following vision, and the communities already have their plans. They just need our help in getting them to the finish line.
When you think about commercial corridors and what they mean to communities, you think about the retail and the restaurants and the vibrancy of the arts and culture. And for me, it's really about who sees the space and how they're inspired.
We're here for the long play. So we're making investments today and getting shovels in the ground that will bear fruit for decades.
It's been an investment in the future of every one of these communities and neighborhoods that haven't seen any of this stuff before.
We can see change happening in Chicago.
Those developments are breaking ground, under construction, and soon will be cutting ribbons and people will be moving in. That's my favorite part. It's actual people moving into actual homes that they can afford in the communities where they want to live.
This pivotal project is a turning point, not just for this block, not just for this community, but for the city as a whole. This is just an exciting time for the community.
It's up to us as developers to really put legs to that vision and to bring it to fruition. It can be done. It's not about one deal. It's not about one developer. It's not about one community. This is about the entire city, building by building, project by project, partnership by partnership. We can really make a difference that outlives each and every one of us.
We're not done yet. We're going to keep rolling up our sleeves and doing the work because this is the right thing to do in this moment for us to make sure that the entirety of our city gets to prosper. That must be our ambition and our goal in this great city.
You're going to have to clap again, because let me bring up your mayor, my mayor, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, our city of Chicago. Thank you so much.
Well, it's really hard to follow that. This is a great day. It's a great day for our city. It's a great day for the West Side and the South Side, and for the communities that just wanted some support from the fifth floor, from city government, to realize their dreams and visions. And I am extraordinarily grateful and humbled to be here and be a part of this incredible, magnificent transformation of our city for the better. Let me first recognize and thank the city leaders who are here and who have made this day possible. I think most of the cabinet is here, which is a great thing, because this is a team sport. We can't get this work done without everybody understanding the importance of working together, breaking through silos, and understanding that all of their city partners, but importantly our residents, will be the beneficiaries of the work that we do together. So I'm going to call them out one by one as I see them and ask them to stand and take a bow. I'm going to start on the far end with Gia Biaggi, our CDOT Commissioner. Matt Baudet, the Commissioner of Buildings. Maurice Cox, our Commissioner of Planning. Marisa Navarro, our Commissioner of Housing. I'm going to point out Michael Fastnock, who's been our partner in wrangling businesses to come. The CEO of World Business Chicago and the Chief Marketing Officer for the city. Chris Brown from the libraries. I'm going to say Rosa Escareno has worn so many different hats, but the CEO of the Park District. Aaron Harkey, our Commissioner for DCASE. And I'm going to call up Pedro Martinez, the CEO of Chicago Public Schools. Ken Meyer, the Commissioner of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. And what I'm also happy to see, and hopefully I didn't miss any other commissioners, what I'm also happy to see is people from all over the city here. This is a West Side groundbreaking, but it's a city-wide celebration. So thanks to my friends from the South Side. I see you, Dr. Adams. Thanks for all the other folks who are here, because it does take all of us to step up and be diligent and make sure that the work gets done. And we've faced a lot of headwinds over these last 3 years. I also want to thank Samir Mayakar, our Deputy Commissioner, our Deputy Mayor. I've said a lot of things publicly about Samir, but I will just say this. His name may not be on every building, every streetscape, but your touch is everywhere. And we would not be here today, we would not be getting this work done without you. So thank you, my friend. There are countless other leaders and individuals that I have to thank for bringing Invest Southwest to life, and I will do so shortly. But I'm excited to look back and celebrate what we've been able to accomplish working together. I cannot overstate how extraordinary it is that through Invest Southwest, we have commitments of $2.2 billion in investments for the 10 targeted communities and neighborhoods over the course of the 3 years. The work done, the commitments made through a global pandemic, through an economic meltdown, and more unexpected headwinds. It would have been easy to stand still or to retreat. But we owe the residents of these communities, where we raise expectations that we would be their partners on this journey for economic renaissance. We owed it to them to stay the course and keep pushing forward. And dear God, I'm thankful that we did. In many areas, this represented the first time in decades that public and private dollars were working to uplift these neighborhoods. And that is precisely why we embarked on this Invest Southwest journey. As mayor, it's my solemn responsibility to serve all 77 neighborhoods. But I cannot, in good faith, uphold the old status quo. The status quo of only investing in the downtown and the north side, hoping that dollars would trickle down south of Roosevelt Road or west of Ashland. The best way to truly serve all 77 of our neighborhoods is finally committing to raising the fortunes and the vibrancy of communities on the south and the west side that have been starved for resources for far too long. We can't be a great global city and have so many of our families living in poverty. We cannot be a great global city if we don't look at the root causes of violence and understand that there's a different recipe for solving these problems than just throwing law enforcement on every corner. The way that we solve these problems, the way that we address the social ills that continue to plague way too many of God's people in this city, is by making sure that we see everyone, that we invest in the root causes, and that we make sure that we are providing hope. Hope in the form of economic development, hope in the form of jobs, hope in the form of communities coming together. That's what we must be about in this moment. And of course, challenges remain. We didn't get into this mess overnight, and we're not going to solve every problem overnight. But the continual neglect of our neighborhoods cost us all in the end, through the manifestations of the problems that so many people want to see us address. With $2.2 billion in investment commitments, we are spurring tangible, positive, and long-lasting changes forevermore on the south and the west side. Let it never happen again. Let it never happen again that another mayor, another administration turns their back on the south and the west side. We can't have it, you can't have it, and never let it happen again. Use the power that you now feel to make sure that you hold all of us accountable, that we continue to do the work that must be done. That is what we must be about in this moment. We will uplift our entire city, transforming Chicago from one of the most segregated cities in the country to one of the most equitable in the country. We haven't reached our destination yet, and we need the business community to continue being on this journey with us. But my friends, I have to tell you, from where I sit, the past, the present, and the future look very bright in Chicago. The $2.2 billion encompasses multi-million investments in parks, open spaces, arts and infrastructure, transportation, housing, commercial development, and philanthropic commitments, all of which are tying together and revitalizing our communities. It's hard to believe how much progress has been made in just 3 years, and particularly given all the headwinds that we have faced. Already, there have been Invest Southwest groundbreakings and even ribbon cuttings, with more than $450 million going towards city-issued RFPs and projects at ancillary sites. I must say, I see Carlos back there. I was just in the Healthy Lifestyle Hub in Auburn Gresham yesterday. We got to give a shout out and thanks to Carlos for his vision, for his determination, and the way in which that building, which lay dormant for 30 years, is now going to be the center of gravity on a revitalized 79th Street corridor. Thank you, man, for everything that you're doing. We've made enhancements in the infrastructure and public amenities in these communities through projects like Austin's new Pop Court, a beautiful, versatile community gathering space, because that's what the community said we need and we want. These are just a few of the examples that demonstrate Invest Southwest tangible change. And today we are celebrating 2 more. We're groundbreaking today on the $47 million Austin United Alliance mixed-use project, as well as an adjacent $26 million CDOT streetscape project. The Austin United, you can clap for that. The Austin United Alliance is utilizing more than $32 million in city assistance to develop 78 mixed-income housing units, as well as a branch bank, business incubator, cafe, blues museum, to mark our impact and history on blues music. Like all Invest Southwest projects before it, the Austin United Alliance project will answer many needs for this community. How many times have I heard just the other day, somebody on the west side saying, you know, we were sitting down for a business meeting, somebody wanted to come and have a cup of coffee, and we had to go to Oak Park. Never let that happen again. Never let that happen again. With due respect to Oak Park, those dollars, that $200 million every year that Austinites spend in Oak Park, need to be repatriated to this city and this community. But all of this work means nothing if our streets aren't safe and walkable. And so to that end, CDOT's Austin Streetscape Project will improve the pedestrian-oriented aesthetics and traffic along Chicago Avenue. And let me just say this as an aside. Folks, slow down. There are too many areas of our city where people are driving like it's a speedway. Chicago Avenue is one of those places. We've got to make sure that we're looking out for pedestrians and making sure that people drive safe. We know you got to get from one place to the other, but take your foot off the gas and be wary and cautious around pedestrians. This is the first of 12 CDOT projects planned for Priority Invest Southwest commercial corridors. With approximately $280 million in city funding, we will improve 20 miles of arterial streets, reflecting these neighborhoods' most extensive set of street improvements since the 1990s. Construction on both the Streetscape project and the Austin United Alliance mixed-use development is expected to conclude in 2024, and we need to put our foot on the gas there, though. After years of vacancy and the same old streets, in just 2 short years, this corner of our city will look and, importantly, feel transformed. These projects in themselves are incredible, but their benefits stretch beyond the physical spaces. Invest Southwest represents the first time in decades the city is listening to and empowering local community members and leaders. We knew that such an unprecedented program could only have impact with unprecedented coordination. And I wanted to see if I can ask the corridor managers that are here to please stand and be recognized. I see many of you in the audience. Partnership, trusted community voices and leaders. That's what this work is also about. It's an intrinsic part of what we're trying to accomplish. Another important part is minority participation. from design to development, to emphasize working with small businesses. For the first time ever, we mandated, as part of the RFP process, that the development teams must reflect the diversity of the communities in which they are working. We wanted to make sure that we were empowering and uplifting these teams and giving them a portfolio of work that they could not only be proud of, but leverage into other business. So the development teams that are here, please also stand so we can celebrate you. I saw you back there, man. You got to stand up. The fact that 4.7 million city-issued RFP site with DPD and DOH is breaking ground on the same day as a transformative $26 million CDOT-led streetscape on the same block is an example of that unprecedented, coordinated, place-based government investment. And another benefit of Invest Southwest is a multiplier effect it has and places on our investments. We didn't want to just do one-offs. That doesn't change the landscape in any way. We wanted to make sure that we were in consultation with the community to understand the corridors and the opportunities that would galvanize and catalyze the investments that we were making so that we could then attract other investment. When we launched Invest Southwest 3 years ago, literally just down the road from where we stand now at El May Creations, BMO stood with us and committed $10 million through the United Way to begin the Austin Soul City Corridor. You should clap for BMO. That initial investment inspired countless others from the philanthropic and private sector to step up to the plate and do their part to invest in these communities. To date, as I said, Invest Southwest has catalyzed $1.2 billion in complementary investment commitments from these philanthropic and private sector partners. And there's a growing list of companies who are realizing the potential and promise of our South and West Side, and we're continuing to do everything we can to showcase the communities, to make sure that people see the true beauty in each of these 10 communities and not just reading sensational headlines that don't reflect the realities on the ground. And you don't have to take my word for it. Look to the fact that construction permits issued in many Invest Southwest areas have gone up 30% in 2022 alone compared with the prior 10-year average. And as Commissioner Baudet would be the first to tell you, when people have confidence, they invest. When they have confidence, they take out building permits. The fact that we are seeing this incredible increase in building permits across these corridors is proof positive that we are getting it right on behalf of the communities. And I'm thrilled to say that the work isn't stopping anytime soon. Today is not a victory lap. Today is the first day of phase 2 of our Invest Southwest journey. We have plans to evolve Invest Southwest and incorporate new strategies so that we can foster infill development on the estimated 5,600 vacant city lots in our targeted communities. Commissioner Cox will fill in the details on that. And while we are at it, we're going to continue to promote population growth and further neighborhood vitality. Ladies and gentlemen, as I look back over these past 3 years, there are simply too many incredible people and organizations to thank for their hard work and collaboration and vision on this program. Let me just say thank you for our confidence in us. So many times I've heard through my travels across the city that people come, people go, particularly during an election year, but they don't stay and they don't come back. And the commitment truly isn't there. I hope that we have won your faith and confidence to understand that we're here for the long haul. We're not fly by night. We're not here for a moment. We're here for making sure that this moment becomes a movement, that we continue the work so that you can have the transformation that you have been waiting for far too long. Let me end with two things. Last Monday, we had our budget hearing to get the budget passed for FY 2023. Should have been an easy budget, should have been 40+ votes. But of course, it's the silly season, so nothing was easy. But I'm struck by the words that my friend Emma Metz spoke. She wasn't intending to speak, but a couple of people mentioned her name, and so she stepped up and she said this. In my 23 years in city council, I waited, I supported other people, but I never got my opportunity. And now is my time. Now is the time that we're seeing real change, real economic development coming not only to the 37th Ward, but to the West Side. No one should have to wait 23 years to have hope in economic development. Nobody should have to work 23 years to have a partner in a mayor that says, let me help you solve your challenges. But Emma, I will tell you that I'm glad you stayed the course. I'm glad that we're doing this work together, and more to come. I want to recognize someone else who's a West Sider that some folks don't know, and that's Governor Pat Quinn. Governor, thank you for being here this morning. You know that Governor Quinn tried mightily against also a lot of headwinds to get exactly the kind of work done that we are seeing here today. Governor, you know it's a different time, a different moment, but we're picking up the challenge that you issued to our city and to our state, and we are moving forward, and we are never going to stop. But thank you, Governor, and thank you for being here this morning. Last thing from me. We had a moment recently where a young man was killed in Little Village, 13-year-old, Adam Toledo. And we gathered with a group of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Commissioners. It was a very tough, intense moment. These young people felt not only emotion, but they felt traumatized because too many young people have been killed in our city. We're burying too much of our future in the, I don't even want to say senseless, because no gunfire can ever be normalized as anything other than tragic. But one thing one of the young men said to me, and he's a resident of Little Village, now off at Pomona College as a junior. He said, Mayor, I spent my whole life walking by murals, brightly colored, but they're murals that are memorials to the people that have been killed in my community. I've never forgotten it, and I never will. And I hope that the work that we are doing, we are building murals of beauty. We are building buildings of beauty. That a young man like that one, and here on the West Side and the South Side, can grow up seeing that a city loves and supports them, that we care about them, that they are going to have ownership on the geography under their feet, that they are going to see beauty and not just experience pain and trauma. Because fundamentally, folks, this is what this work has to be about. We have to be about creating opportunities for hope, for our young people to see that the city hasn't abandoned them, that the city sees them, that the city loves them and supports them, and that we are willing to put our money where our mouth is by building these memorials of beauty in buildings, in retail, in streetscapes, and places for intergenerational gathering. We owe that to the young people of this city to do our best, to give the full measure of our persons to build a better Chicago. And that's really, to me, fundamentally what this work is about. So thank you all very much, and God bless you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Gia Biaggi.
Now, if that isn't a tough act to follow, I don't know what is. My goodness. We are in a moment, and we have started a movement. And it is a good day to be on the west side of Chicago. So glad to be here today. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for envisioning what we are putting shovels in the ground on. And we're doing it here, and we're doing it on the south side and in neighborhoods across our city. The mayor, Alderman Mitz, they had vision. They had vision for this community and for all the Invest South and West communities, and say, what do we do if we all pull on the same rope in the same direction? If we get in that boat and we row together, what can you accomplish? What you can accomplish is what you're seeing here today. In this moment, that is that movement. So I'm excited to be here today. We're kicking off the first of a dozen streetscapes across Invest South and West corridors across the city. $280 million of city investments in our streets, in our sidewalks. And what we are doing on all 12 corridors across the 10 communities is we are rebuilding the main street. Right? Those main streets that are part of what makes it wonderful to walk around a community, to spend a few dollars at that store, to have a cup of coffee over there. It brings economic life. It brings public life. It's all the trappings. And you can do that when we marry our investments in our streets with economic development, with housing, and with everything that's already good, that's already happening on our streets in our city everywhere, especially here. So it is great to be here to break ground on the Soul City corridor right here on Chicago Avenue. So this is a $26 million streetscape, and I'm hoping there are, yes, some before and after images flashing on the screen behind me. $26 million, and you know, the mayor had a stat that you heard earlier, that we're implementing 20 miles of new main streets across our Invest South and West corridors. That is twice the mileage of all streetscapes done on those corridors since the 1990s. Think about that. In just 3 years, we imagined it, we listened, we put pen to paper, and now we are building it. In just 3 years, on the road for 20 miles when it took since the 1990s just to do 10. It's huge. It's a massive impact. And that's especially thanks to the Mayor's Chicago Works program that found local money. We didn't wait for the federal government. We didn't wait for those folks in Washington to come up with an infrastructure plan. We went first and we went fast, and that is why we're standing here today. So, these improvements, what is a streetscape, right? It's everything that makes it great to be on a street, everything that makes it safe. As you heard the mayor, please slow down. That's somebody's neighbor, that's somebody's mom, that's your sister, that's your cousin crossing that street. Slow down, but we're gonna help you do that because we are rebuilding our streets with pedestrian safety improvements and new signals and ways to make it easier to board a bus with things like bus boarding islands and what we call a pedestrian refuge island where you can stop for a minute before you cross that next street. But there's also lighting. There's also community identifiers that can say Soul City corridor, that can really express the neighborhood. When you come here, you know where you are. So a groundbreaking, it is the start of something. But in this case, it's the culmination of years of conversations, community outreach, collaboration, roundtables, public meetings, online surveys, youth design leadership. We worked really hard to ensure that we're getting it right here in Austin. And in fact, when I was appointed commissioner, my first public meeting was right down the street near the alderman's office talking about the streetscape project. And here we are today. It proves that it can happen. I have a lot of people to thank, particularly on the CDOT side. Lubica Benak, who is our head of streetscapes, our director. She's done incredible work. She's everywhere. I know she's hiding in the back there. We have our project manager, Wade Van Nordick, Civil Tech for their design work, the Lamar Johnson Collaborative for their urban design and public engagement. Those two things are key. Urban design is that stitch that brings together what's happening on a piece of property, a building like Laramie Bank, and the rest of the neighborhood. So we are very thankful. Territory for their youth outreach. We can't get it right if we're not listening to everybody, and Territory helped us to get there. And then Summit Construction, who won the award to build it. So we are excited. They are ready to go, and we don't care about snow, we don't care about rain. We get shovels in the ground, we keep going. So projects like this, we know, they're more than a way to get from point A to point B. They're about getting to those meaningful places in your life. They're about being able to walk to church. They're about being able to cross the street, holding the hand of your kid. They're about moving around your city and every neighborhood across our city in a way that you feel ownership of it and that it expresses who you are as a neighborhood and who we are as Chicagoans. So I am so, I say it again, excited to be here, excited for more to happen, and really, really proud and humbled to be part of this community that is working on making Invest South and West the transformative, not just vision now, this transformative change in our city. So thank you so much for that. And transportation goes hand in hand with things like housing and planning. And it's really my honor to introduce my colleague, Commissioner Navarro from the Department of Housing.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Alderman Mitz. I think you were this close to doing cartwheels this morning. But I really want to thank the Mayor for your unwavering support of Invest Southwest, because it's not just the name of an initiative. It's an approach to redeveloping communities. It's an approach that recognizes that many South and West Side communities have lost tens of thousands of residents due to disinvestment, due to deindustrialization. And when that happens, it requires a very concerted strategy to drive investment to the most promising corridors, to the places best connected to transit and other investments that provide the quality of life we all want. That's what Invest Southwest does. I'm very proud to contribute to this strategy with affordable places for Chicagoans to call home. So I want to just say a word about what we're breaking ground on today, and there's more as well. So Austin United Alliance, you'll hear from the principals. It's a partnership between Heartland Housing and the Oak Park Regional Housing Center, but before we get upset about Oak Park again, don't be fooled by the name. They do a bunch of work in Austin, and Athena Williams is a longtime resident here of Austin. 78 units, majority of which are 2- and 3-bedroom apartments, so places for families to call home and live affordably, and it sits on a high-frequency bus route, the number 66. So that's a theme you'll hear about. I do want to thank Yishao Shen from the Department of Housing for her work shepherding this project through. And we are here today on this site, rightfully so, but we are celebrating broader progress as well. So there is also the Auburn Gresham Apartments, 58 affordable places to call home with first floor commercial, just 3 blocks from a new metro station opening in 2024. We're celebrating that today too. We're celebrating 43 Green Phase 1. It's under construction, 100 units adjacent to the Green Line station in Bronzeville. 43 Green Phase 2, starting construction early next year, just on the other side of the L station. And Thrive Inglewood, also starting construction early next year, just a block from the Green Line and Kennedy King Community College. So there's the theme. We're investing in strategic corridors, near public transit, near other amenities, because that's what people want. That's what people need in their lives. That's how you rebuild communities. So again, I'm delighted to be able to play the part of providing places for people to call home, to go home at night and feel good about, and that connect them to all the other things that they need in their lives. So I am delighted to join you in celebrating today, and I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, my partner in all things community development. I am very grateful for his drive and his vision, Commissioner of the Department of Planning and Development, Maurice Cox.
All right. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary, Invest Southwest. 3 long years. Feels like one of those young marriages, right? You get to the 3-year mark, and you're like, oh, we did it. And then you meet somebody who's been together for 30 years. You're like, oh my, we got so far to go. So it's a journey, but the foundation matters. Thank you, Commissioner Biaggi and Navarra, Deputy Mayor Mayakar. Alderman Mitz, this is a force of nature. I am so thrilled we started Invest Southwest right here in your ward, and the progress has been amazing, and so we thank you for being a partner. And Mayor Lightfoot, you know, as I was preparing my remarks, I was trying to understand, like, this feels really different. Now, where did it come from? And I ran across an interview that she gave when she was running, and the interviewer asked her, so what's your plan for the South and West Side? And she mentioned the Marshall Plan. She said, we need a Marshall Plan for the South and West Side. And for those who don't know, the Marshall Plan was the plan that a Secretary of State after World War II in the reconstruction of Western Europe. And the city, the United States put forth tens of millions of dollars to begin the process of reconstructing Europe. This is no less a feat. They had to rebuild after 10 years. We're trying to rebuild after 50. So Mayor Lightfoot, thank you for having an audacious vision for reconstructing not just a 3-year project, but a generational project here on the West Side. So, so 3 years, 2 double groundbreakings, and an announcement of the next great phase of Invest Southwest. $2.2 billion is a phenomenal milestone. And one of the most significant aspects about what's different here is how it compares to other past efforts to revitalize neighborhoods. I think from the very, very beginning, in 2019, we had an exclusive focus on community engagement, coming in, asking the community, what are your priorities? And allowing the vision that emerged to be a vision that they set in motion. So we started with listening right here in Austin. We didn't have any preconceived ideas about where to start. We came in, the only thing we asked that it has to be high visibility, it has to have high impact, and it has to be located on an important commercial corridor. So we asked Austin, where should we start? And resoundingly, residents said, start at the Laramie Bank building. This is a building that we love. Well, it turns out the city didn't own the building. So we had to work with a legacy owner over months and months and months to get her to a place where she could do her contribution, having kept this building up for all these years until the next folks came along to carry that investment further. But that was not just the sentiment here in Austin. In Auburn-Gresham, we started with the Healthy Hub, a beautiful terracotta building that has now been restored as a healthy lifestyle hub. In Humboldt Park, the community said, start with the Pioneer Bank. Another building, we didn't own it, but we started there. And then in Inglewood, the Green Street Firehouse. And in South Chicago, the Ringer Building. You're starting to see a theme here. The community said, let's stop with the demolition of our neighborhoods and start with the preservation and construction of our neighborhoods. And that's the lead we took. And so we are here to celebrate the revitalization of an entire block that will be the cornerstone and the centerpiece of the revitalization. And this is how the Lightfoot administration is going about rebuilding neighborhoods, by repurposing what we have, by reinventing what we have, by reusing what we have, everything from the streets to the sidewalks to the buildings themselves. And it's a very different way of operating. You know, historically, Chicago really championed urban renewal, where they just tore down everything, just tore it down. Or, you know, they did mega projects where you have a big green field, you have no streets, you have no transportation, and you start from scratch, and it takes forever to do. We actually are trying it a different way. We're coming back into communities and block by block, filling in the gaps with extraordinary mixed-use amenities. Families live on these streets, the streets being turned to pedestrians. So that's the strategy. And so while Chicago may be a city that aspires to make no little plans, I've heard, Invest Southwest is proving that lots and lots of little plans along strategic corridors is what is needed to stabilize and grow our communities again. So, we are here, $2 billion plus, public and private investment that wants to stop, first and foremost, the bleeding. We have to stem the loss of Black and brown middle-class families leaving the city. And we have to lift up Black and brown entrepreneurs to do the development, to do the construction, and that's what you're seeing here. And so it begs the question, so what is the future of Invest Southwest? You've been at it 3 years. So what's next? The next is how do we grow equitably the South and West Side? How do we do it inclusively without displacement? Well, you do it very incrementally. You do it, you listen, and you talk about strategies of rebuilding communities block by block. So I think most of you know the hundreds of thousands of families who left the South and West Side because they could not go to a corner store. They did not have safe parks. There was a reason. So it made sense for us to start on the commercial corridor, but now it's about going into the streets and blocks where people live and filling in the gaps with new opportunities for housing. So how does that work? We're going to try Invest Southwest, the second act. And this means we're going to go in and we're going to infill development on the corridors, but then move into the city blocks to promote construction on the thousands of vacant lots throughout this community, to create the rooftops that are so vital for these businesses to succeed and thrive. And so our first strategy is called Come Home. We want to be explicit. We want all those who love the South and West Side to come on home. Come back home to the communities that you've loved, and we're going to provide new housing options. So the initiative will be to find, the 2 flats and the 3 flats that people have been able to build family wealth by living in it and renting out another. We're going to find those opportunities to develop those. We're working together with the Chicago Community Trust and the Chicago Architecture Center to ask for new designs on modern living, on how you can live modernly in the South and West Side. And we want to do this in a way that continues to support Black and brown developers. Not everybody can do what Austin Alliance is doing here. It's a $40 million development. But what about a $5 million development, a $10 million development? What about a corner store with 6 or 12 units above it? That is the next phase of Invest Southwest, and we're calling that the rebuild, which means we're going to look at those corners, those vacant corners, and begin to create smaller infill opportunities for developers who are working in these communities but are looking for a ladder to greater and greater prosperity. Then lastly, our last effort here is Chicago Block Builders, which is intended to streamline the sale of thousands of vacant land parcels and get them into the hands of private buyers, prioritizing new construction, infilling on our city blocks. And we are launching that initiative this week. So we've got thousands of lots. We've got many, many years of work yet to do. So we are not stopping. We're just doubling down. We're expanding the strategy. If you have wanted to do infill development, I would encourage you to go to chicago.gov/block builder. You will see already the site is up, and these are sites that we poised and ready for infill development. So in closing, I think all of these new programs supports the effort of Mayor Lightfoot to deliver on the promise of Invest Southwest. More housing options, more density of support for food and restaurants, and more construction by development professionals who look like the communities that they develop in. Our celebration today is not just this one project or this one streetscape, but this is a historic foundation for what I believe will be a generation of work that we've been called to do. So special thanks. I'd like to give special thanks to my team at the Department of Planning and Development and some of our co-conspirators here today, Commissioner Biaggi in Transportation, Navarre in Housing, and our Cultural Affairs Commissioner Harkey. And at this point, I'd like to introduce the talent that is making this particular project happen, namely the Heartland Alliance Housing and the Oak Park Regional Housing Team. I'd like to welcome the Executive Director, Earl Chase, to the podium to tell us about the project. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really thrilled to be here with all of you as we celebrate the milestone groundbreaking of the incredible Laramie State Bank project. This is going to support the future of Austin. Heartland Housing is part of the Heartland Alliance, and we advance social, economic, and racial justice to provide a safe, stable, and secure future for all. We know that housing is fundamental to our mission, and we are honored to provide high-quality, affordable housing to the Austin neighborhood. Partnership is in our DNA at Heartland Housing, and as the mayor said, development is a team sport. This cannot be done alone. The galvanization of all the ecosystem behind this to make this happen. All of your comments today, from the commissioner to Samir, even our team at Heartland Alliance, it's as if purpose has met destiny, because the two have collided, and it's going to explode, and it's going to create what you will see in a couple of years here on this site. Heartland Housing partnered with local nonprofits and minority-led firms to envision the beautiful, affordable living right here in the heart of the community. Athena Williams is going to tell you all about that. Oak Park Regional Housing, based here in Austin, they do a lot of work in the community. And the way that this RFP came about with intentionality to make sure that they partner experienced developers with local community partners. That is intentional, because you can't have one without the other. You can't have a beautiful development that does not touch the community. Development is after all, it is about the people that will live here, the families that will grow here, the commerce that will be experienced here, the infrastructure that will be built to support all of the growth and all of the future activities that will happen right here, starting right here. This building is significant. It's been here since the 1920s. It's went through several iterations. You know, in the 80s, it was the Citizens National Bank. Now it's going to be redeveloped, and we're going to have another bank here. We're going to have a coffee shop here. We're going to have gathering spaces, art. And then here on this site where we're sitting, we're going to build 78 units. It's going to have 6 stories. It's going to have parking on the ground floor. The architecture is intentional. It's going to match the architecture matching the new with the old. This corridor, Chicago and Laramie, this is a major corridor within the city of Chicago. Really appreciate all the streetscaping and all the planning that's going to be done here. You know, this project, not on its own, but along with the other projects coordinated with it, it will be catalytic. And that's what we strive for as a nonprofit developer, to make our developments catalytic. But it can't be done by just ourselves. I want to acknowledge BOA Construction. Valerio DeWalt Train. Barrow Latoza. Leighton Design, I saw Catherine somewhere. There she is. There's so many more. There's so many more. I want to acknowledge my team, the Heartland Housing Development team. Mark Cruz is our Senior Director of Development. Lockie is our Director of Construction. Lisa Kuklinski, our Community Housing Resident Supportive Services. There's many more of you here. Don Lockman, our Chief Program Officer. Heartland Alliance, again, we're thrilled to be here. This work is going to revitalize the community. This is a historic landmark in an effort to make it once again the thriving destination and community space. We have our financial partners, Keith Broadnax with Sanair, Jack Bernhardt with Chase. And while this is the culmination of many efforts, it's a celebration of the Invest Southwest initiative, we have so much work to do. We have so much work to do, and we are just getting started. But this is what we do. This is why I wake up every day. This is why it's so much of an honor to be a part of a project like this. Because when I'm gray and I'm old, I can drive down Chicago, and I can look back and I say, we did that. Yeah. We did that with Mayor Lightfoot. We did that with Alderman Mitz. We did that with Samir, okay? This is what I love about real estate, is that when done right and when done collectively, it's supposed to outlive all of us. It's supposed to give life to the next generation, and it will. And I'm so happy to be a part of this. I want to introduce Athena Williams, the Executive Director for Oak Park Regional Housing. She's our champion, and we're proud to be a partner.
All right, so this has been a long time coming. Thank you all very much. So again, this has been a long time coming. We have a lot to do here this morning. So I have 4 things that I want to cover. So the first thing, of course, that I want to cover, I want to talk about Oak Park Regional Housing Center. So Oak Park Regional Housing Center, we're celebrating 50 years this year. We're celebrating 50 years of creating vibrant communities. I mean, look at Oak Park, okay? We're celebrating 50 years of bringing communities together, bringing people together, creating spaces for people, and that's what we're going to do here in Austin with this project that we're working on. So, I want to hear you all give a big hand for Oak Park Regional Housing Center. One of the recurring themes this morning is about teams. Teams is, of course, together everyone achieves more. And so people, you all usually see just me out here beating the streets, going to meetings, but I have to introduce my team that's here today. So first I want to introduce some of my board members that are here. Tracy Rural, please stand when I call your name. Victoria Van, and Tracy Wick is here somewhere. Tracy Wick. So those are some of our board members. I also have some of our Oak Park staff here today. Baxter Swilly, please stand, Oak Park staff. Baxter Swilly, Oak Park staff. Jackie Moda, Jackie, where are you? Jackie's part of the Oak Park staff. Mike Stewart is part of the Oak Park staff. Then we have our Austin staff here today. Deborah Williams is our program manager in Oak Park. Cordelia McClendon is part of our Austin team. Carolyn Alexander, Susan Hernandez, and Anita, please stand. This is our Austin team. These are the ladies that you will see supporting the Austin and Garfield Park communities that Oak Park Regional Housing Center supports on a regular basis. With all of the Oak Park team, please stand. I know you all are bashful, but I need people to understand it's not just about
me, but it's also about my team who supports me and the work that we do in all the communities that we serve. The second thing I want to talk about is, of course, myself, Athena Green Williams. Yeah. One of the reasons, Mayor, that I decided to work at Oak Park is because my family, born and raised on the West Side, our parents would take us into Oak Park and spend money into Oak Park to treasure all of those amenities that were in Oak Park. And so when I learned about Oak Park Regional Housing Center, I said a few things. That's a HUD agency. A lot of people don't know about housing. I had my own personal experience. I said, I need to work here to make sure people understand about housing. Then I was like, all this stuff people come into Oak Park for, I got to figure out how to get that into Austin. Guess what? I started in Oak Park in 2015. First of all, born and raised on the West Side. Started at Oak Park Regional Housing Center in 2015. Started out as a consultant. Went there to work part-time. Became a program director. Now I'm an executive director. So that's been my journey at Oak Park Regional Housing Center. Third thing I want to talk about is this project. So this project is very meaningful. So as my partner in crime, me and Earl, 6 o'clock in the morning calls, 8 o'clock in the evening calls, you know, we're trying to work these things out. And as everybody stated, it takes time. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. So part of this project, yes, and Mark from Heartland Housing, we've talked about it since day one. It's going to be a bright, shiny new building. But what's this bright, shiny new building if we don't support the community that is surrounding this bright, shiny new building? So let me talk to you about how we're going to support these communities, Mayor. Chris Egan, I know you're in the room. I saw you somewhere, Chris. Raise your hand, Chris. One of the things we're doing is setting up a public safety committee because it is really vitally important that we address the safety in our community, okay? Joanne Trotter, I saw you in the room. We're also working on more housing affordably, and everybody get the term affordable housing a little confused, but we're working on more housing, not just the housing that's existing, but building up the housing that's existing, but also bringing in more housing through that new program Commissioner Cox spoke about. We also have an Arts and Culture Committee. Let's see, who else? Kenya. We have an Arts and Culture Committee that we're putting together. The Arts and Culture Committee is to help change the narrative in the community, to help partner with DCASE and the DCASE team to make sure that the arts come alive in the community. We're doing that partnering with House School. We'll be partnering with Michelle Clark with our youth. We're also partnering with Root to Fruit, Miss Aisha Oliver over there with her young people to help them understand more. People, we are doing things, not just building, we're doing things for the community. In addition to all of those different things that we're doing, of course, there's the housing committee. Ms. Shirley Fields is on our housing committee, and we're really trying to push the housing in the community. So those are some of the things that we're doing. So is that point number 3? Point number 4, I want to say thanks to all our partners, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Alderman, if you don't mind. I want to give a big thanks to Adam over there. Yeah. You know, Adam did a lot of work. Adam and I, and Leah, I think Leah's in the room too. Adam and I and Leah, we were all on the phone back and forth over the last week, making sure that this happened, making sure that this rolled out in a phenomenal way for everybody that's involved. I want to thank Malcolm Crawford. He's not just the Chicago Avenue corridor, but Malcolm and I go way back some years when this whole Chicago Avenue first started. So those are things, and Adam, if you don't mind, I'm ready to start this groundbreaking. So I'm gonna call your names, and I do have some thanks, but I'm gonna do thanks as we go up, so hold on. So first I'm gonna call up Tom Daly. Go over, grab your hat, grab your shovel. Let's get some drum roll from the band back there. Eddie Torres is with Barra Latosa. So Barra Latosa is our historic preservation partner as we do the renovation for the bank. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Lee Fantroy from Board Construction, who is our project manager on this project. Please grab your hat and your shovel. I need Don Lackman from Heartland Housing. Earl, of course, grab your shovel. Where's my drum roll? I told you all the mayor and the alderman like to dance.
There we go, there we go. All right, come on, Alderman Mitts. I know I'm trying to get them to give you some dance music. I want to give a special thank you to Alderman Mitts. As Alderman Mitts stated, we go back a very long way. Actually, Alderman Mitts wants some music, not just a drum roll. She wants some real music. Commissioner Navarre, Commissioner Cox, and of course, the grand thank you. I have to tell you all, if it wasn't for this mayor, and I'm going to say this, so I give thanks to my parents, born and raised on the west side. My parents were small business owners, never thought we would see this day for a development like this. Come on up here, Mayor. And Deputy Mayor Samir. Again, this is team. Together, everyone achieves more. I guess I should be in the picture.